This is Debbie McAllister, and this is Light Up Your Worth. Grateful you're here as I introduce my next fabulous guest, Tabatha Jones. She's the CEO of Empowered Leadership Coaching and a career advancement and leadership coach. She's a keynote speaker and an author, inspiring audiences with her insights on leadership, career advancements, and empowerment. She has over 20 years experience leading high performance teams in technical teams in corporate America. She's experienced in removing career obstacles and replacing them with effective strategies. She has coached clients from companies like Comcast, Cisco, AbbVie, PG&E, and Tyson to climb the corporate ladder, develop leadership skills, and secure significant promotions. Her personalized coaching programs focus on career advancement, leadership development, and strategic job search techniques. She is passionate about empowering ambitious female leaders to achieve their career goals faster and take up space they deserve. Her book is Promotion Ready in 3 Months, a woman's guide to career advancement. We're going to talk about this book. On a personal note, she loves dogs, just like we all know I love my Lily, water activities, and she's happily married and has a 29-year-old son. So excited to have you on, Tabatha.
I am so excited to be here. I am just really excited to share some new strategies and answer some questions that might help your audience as they're growing and developing in their careers and getting comfortable with owning their worth.
Yes, yes. And what I loved about our chatting too was that I'm originally from the Bay Area and spent a lot of time in high tech and healthcare, were the industries that I grew up in. And it's always so powerful when I meet other empowered women who've also been in that environment. I think most areas, East or West Coast, have this flavor about the unique culture of the Bay Area and our work environments. And I truly believe that the Bay Area influences a lot of areas in being more progressive with how they deal with their employees, the benefits, the work environments. How many startups are in the Bay Area still to this day, and how we've watched it change the whole landscape, really, of the United States.
Absolutely agree. And interesting, throughout my career journey, I worked for the California region, the West Division, and corporate. You could really feel how the influence from the Bay Area had fed into the West Division and was getting to corporate. It's been a really interesting journey. When you pointed it out, it's really interesting to watch. I'm really grateful to be here and be part of the space where things are incubated, where things are growing and new things are coming out.
It really is a great place. Through your coaching and your program, I'm sure that there are ways that I could have done better in my career path. I'm curious, what are the biggest mistakes women make when it comes to career advancements?
One of my very favorite topics, mistakes. Women tend to play small, worried about offending people. We are worried about saying the wrong thing or making a mistake or having someone think we are maybe the B word or cocky or whatever. So we hide our confidence and sometimes we don't build it. Big mistake. We wonder, why am I training my boss? It's because your boss was not playing small and was not worried about people's feelings and was not asking for permission. That's one. Another is we tend to hide in the hard work, but being visible. So is getting out and making connections with leaders in your company or others in the industry when it comes to career advancement. Often as women, we get stuck in the trenches with our team doing the day-to-day minutia, forgetting we need to be leading and demonstrating our leadership, avoiding that visibility.
I'm
Yeah.
guilty. Not.
We're so focused on being an expert and becoming perfect. I can't possibly go after that next advancement until I'm perfect. I've been in this role for 3 to 5 years and I've done all these things and achieved this and that. The truth is, perfection is fake. It doesn't exist. We need to really get out of that comfort zone and start challenging ourselves to show up a bit differently to people who may not normally see us. Which then leads me to the third, and it ties in there with the visibility. I don't have time. I don't have time to be visible, to show up at this networking event. We do not manage our calendars well. Yes, we get everything done on time. But are you managing your calendar? Are you making space for your goals? Are you setting time to get out and network or conduct maybe an informational interview? Making sure that leaders at your company know you so that when it's time for advancement, the panel's already familiar with you. Your name has already come up in those rooms. I would say those are the top three when I think about where women hold themselves back.
I've seen all of that in my own career as well as others. What I find curious about what you mentioned on the third one was that reflecting on your goals. And do you find that we have a tendency to not set? Is it a myth that the more I move up, if I go from an individual contributor to a manager to a director to a VP, that they're not quite willing to give up more of their own personal time or flexibility? Is that a myth or is that reality?
Um, I don't know that it would be a myth. It definitely, let's tap back on that goal setting piece.
Mhm.
You're right. Most of us don't set true SMART goals. They're specific, achievable, relevant, and time bound. When I think about my earlier career, I would say, I just want to become a director. That's not the same as saying, I want to go on vacation. Okay. Where are you going? What are you packing? Are we bringing snacks? Are we flying? What's the budget? A lot of us don't set a SMART goal. I want to be promoted to Director of Information Technology by December 31st, 2024. I have no control of when that job's really going to post, but if it's on my calendar, I'm backing into dates. When does my resume need to be updated? When do I need to start preparing for job interviews? What
Mm.
skills do I need to be working on? What feedback should I be asking for? Who am I working with as my mentor? We can get a clear timeline. To answer your question, as women, we tend to put everyone and everything else first.
Mm.
That doesn't work when you want to get promoted. You have to put yourself first, whether that means spending 30 minutes to an hour per week working on yourself, and that goal, getting visible, or attending a networking event. You have to prioritize it. One of the things that I see happen a lot is a woman will have a networking event scheduled on her calendar. This actually, I'm going to tell you the story about this golf tournament I went to a couple years ago. It was put on by a women's organization. Most of us are like, ew, golf. But there's a cart and a new outfit. I know nothing about golf, but I was like, you know what? I'm going to do this. I'm going to sponsor the water at the holes as my coaching business. I'm going to check in with my friends who are part of this event and see, or this networking group, who's attending. Oh, I'll be there. I'll be there. I'll be there. Awesome. I got there and 85-ish% of the people there were men. And none of the people who told me they would be there were there. So of course I followed up, right? Where were you? Oh, meeting last minute. Oh, my boss wanted to have this conversation. The funny thing is, those men probably were in the same situation, but were assertive in saying, I already have something scheduled. Can we pick another day or time? All the women said, I don't need to put myself first. Golf's not important. Let me go. Let me go do whatever you need. They miss the bigger picture. It was a huge networking opportunity.
Yeah.
Whether you like golf or not, I'm not a golfer. I won a trophy because there were no women to compete with. But there were conversations about who was hiring and what opportunities were coming up. I added 40 to 50 people to my LinkedIn network. It was a great opportunity, but so many women missed it because somebody put something on my calendar.
Mm.
So that is where we have to shift. We as women have to shift and start putting ourselves first, getting clear on our goals, and then start making that time so that we can achieve them and start doing all the things that are really important in that space.
That was a great example of we put ourselves second. What if somebody at this point hasn't been to a networking event? How do they find them?
It truly depends on, are you working or maybe not working at this point? So there's a couple of different ways. I'm going to go starting with people who are actively working in a company. A lot of companies have employee resource groups or ERGs that host events all the time. That is a great opportunity to get into a room and work with people you've never worked with before. You can take a leadership role, you can present, you can offer to help with event planning and help other people see you while you're also supporting this group of people by doing some things that are much needed. There are industry events. So I'm a member of Women in Cable and Telecom Network. It's a national group of women in tech and telecom. They have all kinds of events that are national, they're online, they're in person, just making the time to get into one of those events.
Mhm.
And the best part is you're getting in a room with people. You already have something now in common with them. A follow-up conversation is really easy when there's someone super interesting in the room.
Mhm.
I may reach out to somebody, we'll say her name's Elena, and say, "Oh my gosh, I saw you at this event. Would love to have a quick coffee chat. If you have time, I want to learn more about this project or talk more about something we learned in this event. And let's talk about perspectives." It's easy to open the door and get you in front of people you normally wouldn't speak with. Depending on your industry, there are engineering events, there are events for people in the medical field. They're all over. Sometimes I find them on Eventbrite, I'll find them on LinkedIn. You just have to
I
look and
love
make
those
time.
suggestions because I have friends who think about it more when they're thinking about career changes or looking, but it hasn't been an ongoing thing. Over time at events, you meet a lot of people where you feel like are just people who randomly come out and connect request you on LinkedIn. You've had something in common.
Exactly. The one thing that you said there is a lot of people wait until they're looking for a job or need something.
Mhm.
So you don't want to reach out randomly when you could have been building a relationship all along.
Mhm.
That's really how we move things. It's relationships, it's making sure that you're mutually supporting each other. And then when that time comes to ask for something, "Hey, I know this position's coming up. Would you mind sharing with other people when you're talking about my interest, goals, and success?" Or, "Oh, I see you have a job at this company. I know you've been there. You've told me you love it. I'm looking for a new role. Would you be willing to help me forward my resume to the hiring manager?" It's less awkward when you've been networking and building relationships as you go.
Mhm. I would definitely agree. What strategies do you recommend to overcome those top 3 areas where people make mistakes with their career advancement?
Oh my gosh, so many strategies. I put a lot into my book because they're overlooked, but powerful. The first one is getting your calendar under control. We're going to go backing into that because you need time before you can plan to do anything. It's a matter of looking at your calendar and saying, am I needed in this meeting? Is it optional? Is it taking up space? I always say consolidate, delegate, and eliminate. If there are meetings, Joe and Jan want to have two different conversations about the same topic, we consolidate that meeting. We talk to Joe and Jan at the same time. We recover the 45 minutes or the hour or whatever it is. If you have a call on your calendar, this actually happened. I was an executive director and I joined a project called To Observe. The project lead was on the call from my team. Her backup was on the call. So those two should have been there. Probably three or four other people from the team were on that call. The supervisor and the manager were on the call. And then I was on the call. I'm like, wait a minute, what's happening? That was a meeting the supervisor and manager should have delegated. And we had a great conversation about that. When you delegate, you're showing your team members, I trust you. It makes a difference in how your team works and how that culture will thrive. It was so interesting. So I joined the call, and every time the project manager would ask a question, it was dead silent. They were waiting for me to answer. I finally figured it out. They waiting for me? So hey, Paula, this is your call. I'd love for you to speak up, pretend I'm not here. Just a reminder, not here, just observing. The feedback went to the manager. You did not need to be on that call. We have all these people sitting on here. They're telling me they're just so busy, yet they're wasting time on a call that Paula could update in 5 minutes in a team meeting.
Mhm.
Delegate those meetings, be strategic with the time. Some you can't delegate. I get it. Those are the important ones. And then eliminate. So if there's a meeting sitting on your calendar, you have no idea what it's about, reach out to the organizer. What is this meeting for? What do you need me to do? What are you looking for? And decide. But often you can eliminate the meeting. There are often Oh, I thought I'd add you because you seem interested in this topic. I'm not. Just send me the notes. So there's space. Think deeply about your goals. Get very smart and strategic. Start penciling time in for yourself.
Mhm.
Set time for reflection. What did I accomplish this week? Set time for conversations, getting out and having those informational interviews, scheduling time for networking events, and making yourself a priority when someone tries to schedule over it. I always say it starts with the calendar. That's where the confidence comes from because you have time to prepare, you have time to think. That calendar is always the first thing to work on when you're working on overcoming those.
What I noticed when I moved from tech to healthcare is you get meeting notices and no agenda. Or what's
And
the objectives or what actions are we following up with? They hadn't quite made the transition. And it was in multiple organizations where when I was sending out my meeting notices, I'm including the agenda. And then you find out nobody's even read it. And you're like, you're just showing up.
and
Like,
we will because we were invited. Oh my gosh, I was invited. Let me show up to those 39 hours of meetings I didn't need to attend this week.
right. I think that's great advice. Again, controlling our time, really managing our calendar.
If I could inspire anyone to do anything today, it would be take a look at your calendar and start removing, consolidating, delegating, and eliminating meetings and grab the space. That's a mistake that happens too, is somebody will say, oh, I did that. And then it got filled in with new things. You have to grab those blocks and
Mhm.
mark them as busy and pencil in what you plan to do during that time.
I love to color code my calendar.
Me too.
So I can look at it even from the week as you start your day or Friday. I like to wrap up knowing what's upcoming for the week and look at the colors, see how much of that is the actual work time versus a meeting. That is great advice. I've had really good success with that myself. What other strategies would you have them to help overcome some of these?
A couple of things tied to that networking and visibility is being really intentional with what your goal is. That's getting back to knowing your goal,
Mhm.
knowing what you need from each person you're speaking to. Often we get into a networking event. I see this all the time. Someone will introduce themselves and move on. Why are you here? What are we doing here? Having a clear elevator pitch is helpful.
Mm.
Being able to say who I am, what I do, and ask for what you want. We're here together. I'd love a few minutes of your time to learn about your role at this company. Today, we're talking about great topics. I see you're carrying a book I'm interested in. Can we sit down later and talk about your thoughts and your feedback? And let's get some ideas rolling from that.
Mhm.
We waste a lot of time networking in a building. You'll meet someone new. You're in your nice big corporate office, walking through the office, and you pass someone who says, oh, I'm so and so. I'm the senior vice president of this department, and I'm new here. I've been here for X number of months. And you are? Oh, I'm Tabitha. I sit over there. Nothing more, right? We need that pitch ready. I'm Tabitha, a career advancement and leadership coach. I help women achieve their career goals faster. I'd love to chat with you later if you have some time. Can I reach out to your assistant? It will help you get that visibility and that makes a mark. They remember you. Oh,
Mm.
Tabitha, yeah, we talked a little bit. She's a career advancement and leadership coach. Can't wait to talk to her. Make sure you make time. It's
Yeah.
instead of, oh, her. Yeah, she said her
Oh,
name and walked over there.
yes, they are paying attention.
It can be that. It can be, I'd love to schedule an informational interview with you so I can learn a little bit more about your goals or your vision for the future.
Mhm.
It can be, I'm really interested in working for your department. I'd love to come in and pick your brain a bit about what skills you're looking for when you hire new leaders.
Mm.
Anything, just remembering to ask the question because you will almost always get exactly what you need when you ask.
Mhm. One of the things I've realized with women, and I've heard some type of study that was done, was that when we go to look at jobs, is that we'll look at a job description on every single line. And unless we think that we can do 100%, we don't apply. Men will look at it and go like 60%, maybe 50%. Yeah. Oh, I can learn that. And when I think of that survey, I think of more of it of how we are stepping into our own value and worth. How do you help women get clear on the value and their own worth that they're bringing into the workplace?
Oh, I love that question. And yes, it's a not so fun fact that women are looking to fit 100% of the qualifications where a man maybe 60. The difference is one, we're a lot harder on ourselves. Two, we worry about failure a lot. So, what if I get in there and I can't do this? We've learned everything we've learned to this point in life. You can learn one or two more skills. It's just a matter of believing in yourself. Understanding your worth is, I was sharing a little earlier, I wrote an entire chapter of my book about this because we're so unclear. I've worked with job search clients who, when I am working on their resume, I'll say, tell me your top 3 to 5 career accomplishments from the past couple of years. And it's crickets. It is like pulling teeth to get those answers. So I'll do a deep dive and really get in there and ask, okay, tell me about the team you lead. Tell me about the projects. Tell me about, and what I've learned is women will tell me everything their team has done to be successful, but can't tell me what they have done to drive the team toward that success. So that's when we go on the deep dive and pull out my 50 things you're most proud of list. I have women making a list of 50 things because we're bigger than our jobs. But two, for those of us who've been employed for more than 5 years, we have career accomplishments. We're just not tracking them. It comes down to understanding your worth in a sense of, I'm an amazing human. I have rescued dogs. I have raised my son. I have done these things. And by the way, I helped make multiple millions of dollars for a multi-billion-dollar company through technology I inspired, or automation of technology. When we start feeling that confidence build, all those things start coming back. I recommend keeping a running list of not just the 50 things you're most proud of, but every single week sitting down at work and reflecting on the things that you've done that have driven the business forward, that have driven your team forward, compliments that you have received. But people, I didn't really accomplish much this week. What compliment did someone give you? What did you feel really proud of? And then suddenly we find out, oh, yeah, you just completely helped this person turn their performance around because you were an excellent coach at work and you led with empathy and you helped them find a solution. Keeping an inventory and a running list on a Google Doc, you can do it wherever it's easy for you on your personal computer. I'll say this 300 times on your personal computer because you never,
Sure.
something might change and you need to get access to it. Keeping it on your personal computer, making a list of your skills, your soft skills, your technical skills, all of your skills. We forget how important our soft skills are.
Mhm.
Leadership, when I look at leaders' resume, women almost never have team leadership or cross functional collaboration or anything that highlights their leadership skills. We tend to go to tactical
Mhm.
or more of the technical skills. Those soft skills matter. Getting another whole list of all of the skills that you possess is very helpful. Write a short story, maybe 2 sentences. What is your unique value? What makes you unique to the business? For me, I came from a call center environment, which meant I was answering the phones and listening to people who never call the cable company when they're happy. They never call. The cable's on, people are good.
No,
They don't
no,
call.
oh, yeah.
I came from that into a credit and collections role. Didn't talk to happy people.
Yeah.
Then technical roles, doing coding, then project management and leadership. Leading technical teams, I was able to look at a really big picture of this seems like a great change from a marketing perspective. What's it going to do to people on the phone? What's it going to do to the people in the field? What's it going to look like to that customer that receives that first bill and calls? And not everyone could do that. Thinking about all of your skills, all of your accomplishments, and then coming up with what makes me unique.
Mhm.
And then once you own that and you feel that value and believe that value, advocate about your value to others who need to know. Because there were leaders at my company that had no idea I came from a call center background. They had no idea why I would question things the way I did. Because most technical people are like, oh, I can write a code for that. Let me go get blah, 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 right, get it done. And
Yeah.
I would say, pump the brakes. Let's talk about it. Let's see what
Mhm.
this is going to do. And then when we'd have the conversation, I didn't even realize. So that's one of the reasons that I'm in this role and one of the reasons I'm ready for the next role. So it's important.
Oh, that is. I recently I did this for my own self. I went through and I was trying to figure out what makes me unique. I do Lean Six Sigma project management, and I'll come into an area where people are very nervous about talking about what they do because I think people always think about layoffs. That's not lean, that's mean. And this is my friend Dan has said to years, but it is the ability to have empathy and build trust where I sit there and really understand what they're doing. And then I can present it in a visual way and have them really, I don't like the word engage or get a buy in. I just really can understand where their perspective is, what problems are they now facing, and how can we then move forward? Like they're heard and they're seen to move the project forward.
Yeah.
And that's my strength. It's an amazing process map in the end, but really it's those soft skills, leading them, making time, having that empathy.
Absolutely. Oh my gosh, I love that. I think about also from a coaching aspect, what makes me unique is I literally have walked in the shoes of most of the women I work with, coming from that full background of climbing the ladder. I know what works. I've helped teams and team members promote. In fact, everyone who worked for me in my former role before my very last role, all of those individuals were promoted because they all were confident in speaking about themselves and their accomplishments. They knew what to do and they were doing it. So knowing that unique value is so important. And then when you look at that job posting, being able to say, okay, I check 60% of these boxes, I'm going for it. If it's your dream job, you go for it. You've
Mhm.
learned everything. Just be prepared to share in an interview how you'll get up to speed on something you might be missing.
Yeah, it's really important. You just touched on something that was really super important is that the people who worked under you when you had gone your own journey of career advancement, how you helped instill in them, and I'm gonna assume that whether you did it formally or informally, you were mentoring them. And how important is having a mentor who's within your organization or outside of your organization to help you navigate or a coach to help you navigate your own career advancement?
It is so important. So if you don't have a mentor, if you don't have a coach, today's the day to get one. It is the person who is a mentor is generally someone who's a couple steps ahead of you.
Mm.
When I was a director, my mentor was a vice president and really trying to understand what is it I need to work on. It needs to be a person who will tell you, literally, it's the person who will tell you if you have cilantro in your teeth after lunch, like they will tell you the truth, no matter how uncomfortable it is. But they'll give you those gems of wisdom for how you can position yourself. They can recommend who you should be talking to and really share their journey and the struggles and flatten the road, so to speak, because there are a lot of bumps and lumps when you try and do it yourself. But
Mhm.
they help really make that transition and that road a lot smoother. As a coach, it's a little different because I don't work inside the company. So I'm definitely more of a neutral person. I don't have any concept about what really are the personal relationships going on in that company. I do have that outside perspective that I bring to help you look at it a little bit differently. I have a client who last week sent me a text. Her leader was requesting to change her one on ones to every week instead of every other week.
Mm.
She immediately went to, clearly, I'm doing something wrong. He's bothered. He's making this every week. And I said, what I'd like you to do is ask, is this ongoing or is this temporary? I said, my sense is that it's probably temporary because he knows you've got a big event coming up that you're planning for. You've got a lot of fundraising, a really high fundraising goal for the remainder of the year, and you're down one person that you need to backfill. So my sense is that he might just be looking to support you and make sure you have what you need. She said, oh, thank you so much for that perspective. I didn't think about that. So she asked him, and it was what I thought.
Mhm.
A coach doesn't have any emotion in it. There's nothing from that perspective. You can say what you need to say, you can get it out, you can do your thing. You don't have to worry about saying anything bad about Joe because he's a pain in your butt. So we're going to talk about it. We're going to figure out how we get him out of
Yeah.
that. So I definitely recommend. I'd say my mentors were amazing. I had one who he was more of an informal mentor, but someone that I knew I could ask him anytime for feedback. I could ask for his thoughts, but he was an amazing leader. And his superpower was teaching leaders how to become better leaders.
Mm.
So I modeled myself very closely to what he was doing and how he was doing it. Anywhere he was, I was there watching. I was this little stalker. He may not have known that at the time. He might know that now. I'm just kidding. But he definitely was somebody that I knew that if I followed, I would get where I needed to go.
Mhm.
And then I had those mentors that were a step or two ahead of me who could give me advice. I know I'm one of those people who probably talks a lot more than I need to, but I think and speak at the same time, which is just who I am. And so I've had mentors say, maybe hold some of the speaking in while you're thinking, try writing. If you've got to get something out, just write it. Like, okay, so let's try that. So that when I did speak in a room where it was important that my exact perspective came across, it worked. It looked like I was doodling, but I was writing down what I needed to put together so that when it came out, it was more eloquent and put together.
Oh, that was great advice. I
Yeah.
think I've been told that too. Get to the point.
Yeah. It's an extrovert problem, I'm pretty sure. I just want to talk. I want you to know I'm in the room. I'm here for you.
How can we help each other?
That's another
How
great
does that
question.
what does that look like on a day-to-day, week-to-week basis?
Yeah. We have to help each other. There's a lot of talk about competition and backstabbing kind of stuff, that kind of behavior that goes on. I did not ever personally experience that. I have seen it. We need to not be doing that. We need to make room for other women to speak. We'll use me again. I'm a talkative extrovert. When I see that someone is in that room and she's more of a quiet leader, and I know she thinks, processes more before she speaks, it's my job and my responsibility to bring her voice in that room. And so maybe my voice is used to still the room so that she has the confidence to speak. So that might look like one moment, Nancy, it looks like you are thinking about something over there. Would you like to share your thoughts with the room? And making sure that Nancy knows that I'll do that for her rather than just spotlight before that, having a great conversation with her with you've had all these great thoughts and ideas. I noticed that you seem to process them a bit before speaking up. Can I help you bring your voice into the room better?
Mhm.
So that the other is volunteering to practice sharing your value. Before I go out and advocate for myself, I've just figured out, oh my gosh, this is why I'm worth more than I'm getting, and I'm worthy of this promotion, and I deserve to be in this room. Before I go and tell the CFO that, I may want to sit down with a friend and say, hey, can I talk to you a little bit? I want to practice saying
Mhm.
this out loud to build confidence,
Mhm.
that confidence building buddy.
Oh,
And then
love that.
in networking, I always say it's the same. I have a lot of friends who are more introverted. I'm the wing woman. So they will walk with me. I will make sure that I introduce them and then step back so that they can have a conversation. We all operate differently. We all have different ways of being. But those of us who are louder have a responsibility to those who are quieter to help bring them in that room to level out that field.
You know, one of the things I've used for myself and have encouraged others, especially if they're not as extroverted, is to keep a little note, a sticky of their main points
Mhm.
so that if the whole feeling of maybe being overwhelmed with when all of a sudden they have an audience, especially as they start to get more comfortable, is to be able to look down at their notes
Yeah, that's a
so
great
that they've hit their
strategy.
point. And I've had to start using that too sometimes because I have some cognitive issues happening. And I want to make sure that I'm hitting the things that were really important and being part of that to help them with their conversation. Why do you believe that women have lower confidence in the job advancement when in our careers?
It's another one that's interesting. We were talking earlier, we're both Gen X. I feel like when we were brought up that it was bragging. If we took credit, if we spoke up about ourselves, if we, hey, I made the honor roll. I don't know about your house, but my house, it didn't go on the fridge on a magnet.
No, it did not.
I feel like sort of things stuck with us. But
Mhm.
then there's this perception of if I'm doing good, it's making other people look bad or feel bad. But that's not the truth. The truth is, if I'm doing good, you should know about it. I should feel confident about this. It's not meant to make you feel bad. You are bringing value also. So let's talk about your value. What are you proud of this week? I'd say that is a lot of it. The other thing is, we are just so busy dashing around from thing to thing, task to task, that we never stop and reflect on the impact.
Mm.
And when we don't stop and reflect, we don't realize how much us being here makes a difference, how it's driving a business forward, how we're changing lives in the simplest ways. And that reflection is so important. So I'd say those are a couple of the things. Going back to the calendar, taking that time to just think about, should I feel confident? Yeah, I should, but I need time to prepare so that I can come across and be confident. I need to set, instead of multitasking in one meeting, preparing for the next one that really matters, I should have time on my calendar so that I can anticipate what questions are going to be asked. So I can go in there with a deck that's going to wow the audience because it's tailored to that audience. And there's just so many things, little shifts that we need to make so that we can start letting our confidence shine through.
That's a really important point. How do you anticipate the questions if you're coming from one perspective? How do you gain that it's a really good skill in anticipating what that next question's going to be.
Yeah, it is a bit of a skill. It takes some practice. Sometimes you may talk to these people in advance. You know that I'm a CFO, that I'm presenting this topic next Friday. What key points are most important to you in this presentation? That's going to give you some hints about what she may ask if it's not already covered in your deck.
Mhm.
You can also get it from observing. I have clients that I'll ask them, when you're in other meetings, observe. This person's always going to ask about the budget. This person's always going to ask about the impact to the marketing department. This person is going to ask about how it's going to impact your customer service survey scores. Think about what patterns and have a plan to answer those questions. If you can't answer them all, it's okay. That's expected. And a simple, that's an excellent question. I'll get back to you with the answer by the end of the day is
Mhm.
the way to confidently handle it. But when you can answer 85 to 90% of those questions up front because you've done that additional preparation, your confidence will shine. You'll walk out of there just fist pump in the air.
That's really important nugget of wisdom for really thinking more strategically about what we're doing versus just being in the moment and going and expecting to be able to move forward. Really pausing. It's again goes back to what you've been saying throughout your whole thread of reflection. Having some key questions that you're going to ask yourself at the end of every day or every week and keeping it on your own devices. I really love that. What would you say is the one thing for a takeaway for the audience? I can anticipate what you're going to say, but I'd love for you to reiterate it. What is the most important thing as a woman in our career developments and being a leader and really empowering ourselves?
It is definitely knowing your worth, knowing what you bring to the team, and knowing your unique value.
Mm.
That unique value will help you in conversations with leaders at your company. It will help you in conversations when you're on a job search. It will help you in interviews. It will help you build your confidence because you realize you're right. I'm not like everyone else. I'm better in this way. And I am excellent at this thing. So those are things that are important. I'm going to add a 1A, which is that calendar. Get it under control, ladies. Make some time for yourself. Make yourself a priority. So that's me taking and breaking the rules, which I do often. A 1 and a 1A.
I knew the calendar was going to get in there. So,
It always does. It literally, I think, is the second chapter of my book is about the
yeah.
calendar. People don't realize the value of it. And I talk about it in every single coaching program. I have hold women accountable. I take a look at their calendar and I look for that white space and then I'll ask, what are you doing during this time? So that I know that they're making that habit and building that muscle because it's so easy to just accept every meeting as they come in and then wonder at the end of every day, why didn't I get anything done? Or wonder a year later why you haven't even started preparing for career advancement. Another year has gone by. The calendar keeps moving.
Mm.
If you don't set time in that calendar,
That's just some really great information. Now I want to get a little bit more personal. I believe music is a pivotal part of our lives. It can change our mood, it can empower us. I would love to hear what your go-to song is.
I love that. I love music too. And it's really hard to narrow down to one song,
Mhm.
but I will. Champion by Carrie Underwood with Ludacris. It was a Super Bowl theme song a couple years back. It just brings you back to I am a champion. And maybe today it didn't feel like it, but guess what? I am. I'm going to rise again and I'm going to go back at it. I don't give up.
Oh, I love that. I love that. What would you tell yourself, Tabitha, to your younger self about your own worth?
I am going to say, don't leave it to other people to decide or tell me or tell you your worth. That is up to you. I actually quoted it in my book. Your value is not determined by others, but by your own ability to recognize your achievements and understand the impact you make.
Mm.
So, a lot of taking control and not leaving it to other people to decide or tell you your worth.
Oh, I love that. It's an inside job.
Absolutely. And it takes work. It is
Mhm.
a job that takes work some days.
Yes, and I think that's what's so important about coaching. That's coaching or if you therapy to help you see it or just asking the right questions. It's so amazing how powerful coaching can be because of the questions that are asked. So you can figure that out for yourself.
Absolutely. I loved my job from the people and coaching aspects of it, which is why I decided to go do this full time, helping women achieve those goals and really understand their value, understand your worth, understand that it's up to you. And if you can't tell me, I'm not going to be able to figure it out. So, what's important to you? And let's go from there.
Yeah.
And that relationship, it's amazing. When I see the light bulbs come on when somebody's having a bad day and I'll ask a question and then I see, oh, I didn't think about it that way, kind of like the conversation with the one-on-ones earlier. It's just so great to see that and then so inspiring as I see these women just taking their power and making some really powerful moves.
Mhm. That's fantastic. How can people reach you, Tabitha?
A couple of ways. LinkedIn is really an easy way to do it. So my name's Tabitha with all A's. I say it's Tabatha Jones. I love LinkedIn connections. It's a great way to stay in touch quickly and easily. I also have a website. It is empowered dash or hyphen leader.com. And you can easily book a call there or reach out with any kinds of questions and check out my coaching programs. I have a new one that's in alignment with my promotion ready in 3 months book. So I'm
Mhm.
really excited about that.
That sounds like a really game changer book.
It is, if I may say so myself.
Yeah.
There's that confidence, right? It is. There's definitely strategies, exercises, some of my client stories, and my own story that tells you how I know these things work when you do them. So
Mhm.
I'm looking forward to helping power up a lot of women's careers.
Oh, I know you will because confidence is the number one thing that we all need, and understanding our own worth and how it shines throughout our whole life. It really can make a difference in our careers when we feel confident and
Absolutely. We just carry ourselves differently, right? Just carrying
yes,
yourself into that room just
mhm,
a lot differently,
you do. You definitely walk different. You hold
for sure.
yourself different. You have boundaries. You take care of yourself. It's so important. Thank you for joining me, Tabitha. It's been such a pleasure.
Thank you for having me, Debbie. It was a great conversation, and I look forward to chatting with you again. Thanks.